It first started as a social thing for me in college when I was 19 years old, and then I started to use it to cope with my PTSD and paranoia from other mental illnesses.
I think it was a lifetime of not dealing with my own issues, having family issues and not paying attention to those.
It was definitely a generation thing. My mother and father were alcoholics. And I swore that I would never be like that. It disgusted me, and sure enough, I followed suit.
It was all like about fun and games at first, you know, just being curious and want to hang out with the crowd. I never really fit in with anybody, my family or friends. So once I found out that I actually fit in with the people that was all using and getting high, then I was all for it.
I don't think anything, just me first using really basically led me into my addiction. The first time I drank, I was 12, and from then on, it just spiraled. I fell in love with alcohol and who I became with alcohol, and then it just progressed from there and became unmanageable.
Just a chaotic childhood, and kind of the traumatic events that happened along the way, and I was recreating my past with different characters that were toxic, that reminded me of people from my childhood, to try to fix it and earn their love.
My turning point was when I realized I couldn't go a day without drinking, but it was also making me sick at the same time. And I realized I needed to quit drinking, but every time I would quit, I would just have overwhelming anxiety, hypervigilance, and paranoia, and it would just lead me back and forth between drinking and not drinking.
Turning point was when I was at the end of the road. I had no other options. I couldn't see which way to turn.
Probably not having anyone to really turn to for family, friends, or anything else, because they're all, you know, pretty much started the BS by now. You know.
My turning point was when I went to rehab for myself. I have went many of times because I was court ordered or I was afraid to go to prison, but it really made a big difference when I went, because I had realized I lost so much of my life and it was time to start living. So this time I came on my own and stayed on my own.
So I've had a couple turning points. I would say this last time, I've been sober for a little over 3 years. This last time my turning point was I just had had enough. Like, there was no consequences at this point. I was just tired of existing and not living.
I want to say my turning point was honestly this last time when my daughter was an infant. She was 11 days old, and I ended up dropping her at the bus terminal several times, which I do not remember.
My turning point was when my children did get removed from me, and I knew that I needed help. I couldn't do it on my own. I basically had to relearn how to live all over again.
Waking up behind my mother's house in leaves on the ground.
The best time to recover is now. Now.
The best time is any time that you realize you have a problem. It's best to take care of it as soon as you realize that you might have an issue.
Anytime. Anytime, when enough is enough. Even when enough isn't enough, if a court sends you to treatment, if your family has an intervention and wants you to get into treatment, anytime. There's not a perfect time at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whichever time.
Anytime. I'm 36.
Now.
Right now. right now, when you get sick of that life.
Is when you realize it's a problem. When you understand that you can't control it. That's when that is recovering, if you know it or not. When you admit to yourself that this is out of hand, that's the beginning part of recovery to me. When you can admit that I need help, I can't do it by myself.